Hi guys, this is the week 5 learning teaching interaction. We started out with chapter 4 for this interaction. One of the first things they talk about in chapter 4 is the component display theory, which I really like. It has two points. One is the expository, where you tell a rule or principle or give an example or story that supports that rule or principle. And the other is the inquisitory, where you invite the learners to express the rule or principle in their own way, or to think of their own experience that relate to the rule or principle. Both have their place in teaching, and they're both very important. Expository you probably use if you're explaining a new principle or rule to them that they didn't know, or they're not sure how to apply it to their lives. That way you can kind of give them an idea as to what you're talking about. And usually that will lead into inquisitory. Usually there's some type of experience or something that relates to the rule or principle that you're trying to teach them. I think inquisitory makes them think a little bit more and relate it more to their own experiences and their own individual lives. In chapter 5, we talk about engaging an audience. One of the things I really liked was the formula they started out with, that you need relevance, respect, and participation to relate to your audience and to effectively teach them. I think this is very important because as you show respect to the people that you're teaching, they're more likely to want to understand what you're trying to teach them, to want to learn the principles, and to want to apply those in their lives. If they understand that you're trying to teach them from a point of helping them and that you really care about them in their situation and it's not just a job for you, then I think they really respond to that. And when you're genuine with somebody, they usually can tell, and they usually reciprocate that genuineness. In chapter 6, we talk about methods for FLE. There's a lot of them which are in the outline, but I'm not going to go over each of those here in this discussion. I think it would take too long. In chapter 7, we talked about working with diverse audiences. Now, this is really important because there are so many different family structures. You have people who grow up in a happy home, people who grow up in a bad situation in their home, people who come from large families, people who come from small families, people with parents who are strict, people with parents who are lenient, people with parents who were a good mixture of both of those, people with parents who neglected them or abused them. So people come from all different backgrounds, all different ethnicities, all different, there's so many different differences, and you can't really go over all of them, but there's so many different combinations. Nobody is alike, and everybody has a unique situation. And so you really have to find out what their unique situation is to tailor or to present something to them and try to relate it to them in their own culture, ethnicity, or whatever, so that they can best understand. In skilled dialogue, I really like that they talked about this third space. Third space is where you're not coming from a space that's all expert, and you're not coming from a place that's all what the participants know, their family life. Instead, third space is you create a space in between those two. So you take the best of the expert components and you take the best of the participants' experiences and you put them together in order to have this great dialogue and to come up with resources and things that will work for them and the best possible solutions, so that you're not preaching at them and you're not just taking their experiences only, where you meld and blend. And I really like that idea. Then I believe that was chapter 7. I'm not sure if I said that before, but there you go. So, and then we moved into the gospel teaching handbook for CES teachers and leaders, which is really awesome. First, we learned about the role of the Holy Ghost and the role of the student in gospel learning, which are really good sections, but what I want to focus on is the role of the teacher. So in the role of the teacher, it talks about preparing yourself, which is very important. I teach the Teaching for Our Times and Relief Society, and I share it with another lady. So we teach every other month, and So one of the things that I do, now I wasn't always a great teacher. This has come over a lot of experience, but what I do is I start out and I pray for guidance when I'm preparing my lesson, because I want it to be able to be applicable to those that I'm teaching. So what I do is then I read over the outline real quick, or I read over the material real quick, excuse me, and then I start with making an outline of what I want to teach them and what the highlights are and points, and then I fill in the outline with quotes that I want to talk about or sections that we want to read. I also throw in relevant attention grabbers. For instance, when we were talking about presidencies, I believe, in one lesson, and so I did a balloon object lesson where I filled up all these balloons, and I had four volunteers come up. And so I started throwing in 1 or 2 balloons, and they were able to keep them up in the air. But after we got through with all the balloons, they weren't able to keep them into the air. I had to toss them out to the audience to help. And I related that to using the resources and using the people in the ward, asking people for callings, asking people to do lessons or for help in different situations. And they really, really enjoyed that. Another one that I did was follow the leader at the beginning of a lesson, because we were talking about our prophets and following them. And so I had all the Relief Society stand up and copy me. So I had them turn around and blink their eyes and, stomp their feet and different things like that. And it really just got them awake and going, which was really awesome. Another thing that you can do for maintaining an appropriate setting for learning, something that I always try to do is bring a picture or an object or a snack, something that relates to the lesson. So like on a lesson on ordinances, you can bring a picture of your family, a little statuette of the temple, a picture of baptism, some sacrament cups, or, just something to relate to that object lesson. We had one where we were talking about trains. I think it was for leadership. And so I brought a little toy train and just laid it out on the table there for them to see, and I didn't even reference it, but it was there to see as we talked about, leadership. And then the last thing I want to talk about is the questions in class discussion. So it's really important to involve the class when you do teaching. You ask open-ended questions, ask them for responses, and tie their comments into the lesson. Make a little comment, or at least say thank you for their participation. Thank you for watching.